Okay, in this video, we're going to look at some final common question types that you might get on the IELTS listening test. Why is this important? Again, it's so that you can become familiar with these different kinds of questions. Also, we hope that you can develop some different strategies, some different ways of answering these questions. In this video, we're going to focus on sentence completion, short answer questions, and how to complete tables. Let's start off with sentence completion. Please read the instructions carefully, just as you would on the test itself. Okay, a slight variation from some of the questions we've looked at in the past. Here we have the instructions, write no more than 3 words and/or a number. Now, there's a lot of debate about the meaning of this. This is the easiest way to think about it. You could write 3 words, you could write 3 numbers, you could write 2 words and 1 number, but you can't write 3 words and 1 number. That would be 4 items. So the easiest way to think about it is just 3 of either, or a combination, 2 and 1, but not 4. So also this means that we are likely to hear a number. In this listening file, we're going to hear a presenter giving information about a tourist destination. This is actually one that we've looked at before, another listening file from the grade site, and some of the questions here have been adapted from the site. Again, when we are told that we will hear a presenter, this means it's going to be a monologue, one person talking. Here are the questions. So we can also tell that hopefully the information will be given in the same order as the chart because it is a monologue. What we should do is just make common sense predictions. And in this case, because it is complete the blanks or fill in the blanks, we can also use some grammar cues. For example, Richard Daintree, that's what we're going to listen out for, that's the cue, but it says Richard Daintree was an Australian, so I think perhaps, well, absolutely there'll be a noun following that, but perhaps he was an explorer. You might have general knowledge about Australia, maybe you know who he is. Anyway, just definitely make as many predictions as you can in the short time that you're given. The next one we're going to listen out for is on Cairns Esplanade. Children can swim in a lagoon and at a, so where is another place that children can swim? Obviously it's going to be a noun. And we have the article a, which means the next sound will be a consonant sound. Cairns Shopping Centre, we're going to listen out for that. Cairns Central Shopping Centre is blank of the downtown area. Maybe it's an adjective, maybe it's north, maybe it's south. Doesn't really matter what prediction we make. It's just going to give us something to listen for and check when we do the listening itself. The Cairns night markets open at, so with the preposition at for a time, usually it's going to be a clock time. Night market, maybe it's 7 p.m. The ferry from Cairns to Fitzroy Island takes, so to me, that sounds like a length of time. Maybe it's 1 hour, 2 hours, but definitely we're going to listen out for a length of time. So let's listen to this audio file now and see if our predictions are correct.
Good morning, passengers. Pretty soon we will be landing in sunny Cairns, the gateway to Queensland's tropical north. With its fantastic cafes, busy markets and glorious beaches, Cairns is the ideal base to explore the nearby Great Barrier Reef, Port Douglas and the Daintree Rainforest, which was named after the famous Australian geologist and photographer Richard Daintree. The first stop for most visitors to Cairns is the Cairns Esplanade. Here you'll find waterfront boardwalks and a children's water park and a swimming lagoon. The popular swimming lagoon is near the downtown area and is at the southern end of the Cairns Esplanade. So after you've had a swim, dry off and eat at one of the 100 restaurants that Cairns has to offer. Seafood, Chinese, Thai, Japanese, Italian, Indian, pizza and more. There is a mouth-watering food for every palate. And be sure to order a coconut latte from one of the many funky cafes on Grafton and Spence Streets. After a coffee and a bite, check out the Cairns Central Shopping Centre to the west. And at 4:30, the Cairns night markets open, so the fun never stops. If you don't have anywhere to stay yet, Cairns has an array of accommodation for everyone, including world-class hotels, serviced apartments, stunning resorts, and backpacker hostels. You simply can't come to Cairns without visiting the Great Barrier Reef, the world's largest coral reef system. So after a good night's sleep, wander down to the Reef Fleet Terminal for a day trip to the stunning Barrier Reef. Cairns is the main gateway to the Great Barrier Reef, and you can find trips any day of the year. And it doesn't matter whether you're a beginner snorkeler or an advanced diver, there is a trip for everyone. You don't even have to be able to swim, you might even want to go island hopping on some of the reef's pristine islands. The 45-minute high-speed ferry trip to the magnificent Fitzroy Island is a popular choice.
Okay, let's go through and check our answers using the script. Now hopefully all of you heard Daintree Rainforest. Following from that, we are told it's named after the famous Australian geologist and photographer. Now, unfortunately, spelling is marked on the IELTS listening test. This means if you misspell, or if you misspelled geologist or photographer, you would lose a point. So, you just need to check your spelling. If you're not sure about the spelling, always try guess, always complete every answer. Next, we're listening out for Cairns Esplanade. So, a little bit further on, we hear the keyword Cairns Esplanade. Then we are told, here you'll find waterfront boardwalks and a children's water park and a swimming lagoon. What's important to notice here is that the information in the listening file doesn't always follow the same order it does on the question paper, so you have to listen really carefully. But the best answer here is definitely water park. Then we're listening for the keyword or the keyword central, Cairns Central Shopping Centre. Is it to the south of the downtown area? So we hear later on, after a coffee and a bite, check out the Cairns Central Shopping Centre to the west. So make notes on your paper because sometimes, as you can see, the information we're looking for can come quite rapidly. So what time does Cairns night market or do Cairns night markets open? Very quickly after that, we are told at 4:30. So this is where we want to be making notes on our question paper. Remember, you have the 10 minutes at the end to transfer your answers. Another reason why you want to be making notes on your question paper is for this reason that you're going to get information quickly. Finally, how long is the ferry from Cairns to Fitzroy Island? And we hear right at the end of the audio file, the 45-minute high-speed ferry trip to the magnificent Fitzroy Island is a popular choice. So 45-minute high-speed ferry. In this case, 45-minute is an adjective before high-speed, another adjective, and then ferry. This is important because sometimes, for some questions, the grammar must be transformed. What's really important is that the words that you use, the words and numbers in this case, that you use to fill in the blank must be grammatically correct. So here, minute has to be transformed to minutes. Let's move on to the next set of questions. These are short answer questions. I'll let you read the instructions. Okay, same instructions as before in regards to write no more than 3 words and or a number. Again, you're highly likely to hear a number or numbers, but remember, don't write 4 items. You could write 3 words, you could write 3 numbers, 2 words, 1 number, but not 4 of anything. In this case, we are told we are going to hear a lecture about gladiator games. This is another adaptation from the grade website. In this case, we can also tell that it's most likely going to be a monologue, one person talking about gladiator games. Here are the questions. I've left the instructions up for you. In this case, hopefully, the information will be given in the same order as the questions. But what's really important, as with the case with the sentence completion before, for short answer questions, the grammar may need to be transformed. Let's make some predictions though. Always make as many predictions as possible. I think it's really possible here that we can use grammar cues as well. Maybe some of you have good general knowledge about Roman history. So I can't remember as much history as I used to. When was the Roman Republic founded? So I don't know, maybe 400 BC. At least that's going to give me something to actively listen for and check when the audio file comes on. Next key question word, when was the first gladiator bout staged in Rome? So again, not sure, but surely it's going to be after the Roman Republic was founded. So let's just say 300 BC. Okay, who was Junius Brutus Pera? Maybe he was a Roman emperor. Probably some kind of title, so definitely a noun, and we can only have 3 items. Who were often forced to fight to the death as a term of a Roman will. Now, this listening file is going to be about gladiator games. Surely gladiators is a good prediction. Again, something that's going to give us to listen to. I think a point of difference here, and in some of these questions, questions 3, questions 4, perhaps we're going to hear the answer before we hear the keywords that we're listening for as well. So, now that we've made some predictions, let's listen to the audio file.
Welcome to today's lecture, the 3rd lecture in the series of lectures on ancient Rome. Last time I spoke about the establishment of the Roman Republic in 509 BC. In this lecture, I'm going to examine the role of gladiator games in ancient Rome. Today, the idea of combatants fighting to the death in front of thousands of spectators is unthinkable. However, during the staging of Roman gladiator games, this is exactly what happened, and their morality was rarely questioned. Indeed, for the Romans, the arena was an institution. So, let's find out more about the gladiators and why they were so important in ancient Rome. According to the myth, Rome was founded on 21 April 753 BC. However, it wasn't until nearly 500 years later when the first known gladiator bout in Rome took place in 264 BC. It was staged in honour of a deceased aristocrat, Junius Brutus Pera, and for the next 100 years, gladiator bouts continued to be rather private affairs at Roman funerals of the wealthy. Forcing slaves to fight to the death was often a term of a will. These early gladiator bouts recognised the importance of the deceased person and served as means of impressing other elite members of society.
Okay, let's go through and use the script to check our answers. The first one we were looking for, when was the Roman Republic founded? This is where we're going to find our first reference, Roman Republic. Hopefully you all heard that, but here we have a synonym. Founded, we hear the word establishment. Last time I spoke about the establishment, which is a noun, of the Roman Republic in 509 BC. So there's our first answer, 509 BC. Next one, we're listening out for first gladiator bout staged in Rome. Pretty soon after, the first known gladiator bout in Rome, here is another synonym, staged, took place in 264 BC. Next, we were listening for Junius Brutus Pera. Who was Junius Brutus Pera? Hopefully you all heard his name, but this is the difficulty with this test. Sometimes the information in the listening file doesn't follow the same order as the question paper. So it was staged in honor of a deceased aristocrat, Junius Brutus Pera. So the answer is given before the information we're listening for. So we always have to listen really carefully. Remember, make notes on our paper because that sort of thing happens from time to time. I know aristocrat is a difficult word to spell. Unfortunately, you do have to spell words correctly in order to get points. Also, I would say that if you want to be grammatically correct, you should have an aristocrat. Perhaps if you put just aristocrat as the answer, you'll get marked correctly. But if you want to be sure, an aristocrat would be the most grammatically correct, the most grammatically precise answer. Alternatively, you could also have a Roman aristocrat. That would surely be acceptable as well. Finally, we were looking for the answer to who were forced to fight to the death as a term of a Roman will. Now, because the listening we were told it's about gladiators, that was our prediction. But actually, we were told forcing slaves to fight to the death was often a term of a will. Our prediction wasn't correct. Hopefully you got that one still right. Again, the answer came before the key word. So, slaves. The best answer there is slaves. Let's move on to the final question, which is completing a table. I'll let you read the instructions. Again, we're told no more than 3 words and/or a number. So, this means we can't have 4 items. All of the instructions in this video have that same one. So, good chance to realize that there is a small difference. Sometimes we're only writing words. Sometimes we have to write words and/or numbers. Again, likely to hear a number. We're told we're going to hear a presenter giving information about a tourist destination. This means we're going to hear a monologue, one person talking. And again, this is another file from the grade website. Here it is. It's the differences between the New Zealand and Australian flags. Perhaps you know the differences already. If that's the case, you're lucky. Sometimes that's going to happen on IELTS. You might get topics that you're familiar with. In that case, you can go ahead, make your predictions. We're looking for the main color of stars, the number of points on stars. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a chance to make your own predictions. This is a shorter audio file. There are only 3 questions. You'll have a little bit of time before you hear the audio file. See if you can quickly make some predictions and then check them. Then we will check the answers together. Okay, let's listen.
On the right-hand side is the New Zealand flag. Now, a lot of visitors ask me about the differences between the New Zealand flag and the Australian flag, so I will explain before one of you asks me. Both flags feature the Union Jack in the top left-hand corner, and both flags have blue backgrounds, so there are no differences there. The first difference lies in the stars, the Southern Cross on each flag. The Australian stars are 7-pointed stars, while the stars on the New Zealand flag are 5-pointed stars. Also, the Australian flag has an additional 7-pointed star beneath its Union Jack. There were referendums in 2015 and 2016 to see if the New Zealand flag should be retained or replaced, but the majority voted to keep this flag. I guess the history of the flag in New Zealand's military campaigns might have been a deciding factor.
Okay, let's go through and check our answers. The first thing we were listening for was the main colour of the stars on the New Zealand flag. The stars on the Australian flag are white. What colour are the stars on the New Zealand flag? Hopefully you heard a couple of references to stars. After the first one, we are told the Australian flag has 5 white stars, whereas the New Zealand flag has 4 red stars. So there's our answer. On our answer paper, we write down red. Now, the number of points on the stars. So maybe you were listening out for points, number of points, maybe stars again. Now, this is where the information does come quickly, so just keep making your notes on your answer paper. The Australian stars of its Southern Cross are 7-pointed stars, while the stars on the New Zealand flag are 5-pointed stars. 7 and 5. Hopefully you got those answers correct. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to make your own predictions. So, just to wrap everything up, always make predictions. You really want to have an active mind in the test. Actively listen for the answers. Use grammar cues and your own general knowledge where possible. Also, keep making notes on your test paper. You have that 10 minutes or those 10 minutes at the end to rewrite your answers onto the answer paper to transfer them. So, jump onto grade. and see how well you can predict. Practice until you are confident.